Hello and welcome to this special video. My name is Guy and I'm from the How to Be a Great GM channel. This program has been made possible through the generous sponsorship of Daz 3D, as you can see behind me. Daz 3D is a remarkable 3D modeling and posing tool that really allows you to create amazing characters. And we're going to use Daz today to create some character portraits for your character so that you can use them in your game. Now, this is not to say that you don't need to have a certain amount of artistic skill. And the programs I'll be using today, I'm going to be using Daz 3D, which is free. The assets, however, are not free. You do purchase them as you need them, but that's what I like, is you purchase what you want. You don't purchase everything. So you can build up your library over time. And to give you an indicator, I've been using Daz 3D since 2007. So that's what, almost 11 years ago now. And I'm still using assets that I purchased back then in work that I do to this very day. So it has a nice long shelf life. It's quite an investment once you get into it, and it can be very, very, very useful. So this is going to help you create your own character portraits. So like I said, you need Daz 3D, and then you need some kind of art manipulation program. I'm using Adobe Photoshop because, well, that's just the one that I happen to have, but you can use any any tool that you like to composite imagery. So the basic idea that we're going to be going through is we're going to create a character. We're going to dress that character using Daz 3D, and then we're going to take that character and we're going to position them into an environment of our making, of our choosing. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to switch over now to Daz Studio. So this is the basic interface for Daz Studio, and we're going to create a character. Now, you have to bear in mind that this is a program that is designed for artists to use, whether it's in creating imagery itself or using as a basis from which to then work. So we're going to create a very valiant, I think, well, let's try and create a valiant warrior of some kind. I think that we can choose any one of the figures here. So we've just got a whole range of different figures that we've downloaded or that I own. I've got horses. These are some of the models, by the way, these horses that I have from 2007. Dragons, you've got demons, you've got dinosaurs. You really do have a very wide range of characters that you can draw from and use. So I think let's make ourselves a warrior. So I'm going to choose Michael here. This is the basic figure. Now don't be surprised, some nudity is about to happen. Brace yourselves. You're about to get flashed by a Ken doll. So if you're unfamiliar with that, you're about to see what happens. All right, so we loaded up. There we go. We have our Ken doll. Now, these are anatomically incorrect models. At least I hope they are anyway. That's all that we need. So we now basically have our Michael. Now, what we can do with this, and this is again provided that you purchase all the necessary add-ons and things, but like I said, you buy what you want. You don't have to buy everything at the same time. So that makes it really, really customizable, is that we can go in with Michael here. And I'm just going to move in and zoom in here on his chest region as we come in here. And with Michael, I'm going to say, okay, let's go down to the actor. And these are modifiers, these things directly behind me here. I'm going to very, very quickly show you. Let's make him a real tough guy. Let's make him really, really, really bulk out. So I'm just going to increase the slider level here. Let's make a barbarian type warrior. So we're going to make him really, really, really strong. We are maybe going to play down on that size a little bit. The definition is definitely there. Okay, great. So he's got this really, really tough guy kind of pose. We want the head to look more like our character, the barbarian. We think he should be, let's give him some cheek dimples. Let's really push those up a bit. Let's make the symmetry a little bit. Let's sink his cheeks in so you can see his cheeks there changing ever so slightly. I mean, these are small little things that we are playing with. We'll make his chin a little bit stronger. I mean, if you like customizing characters in computer games, Daz makes this look completely takes it to the next level. You can spend days. Look at these, I don't have most of the things that Daz has on offer, but you really, really can customize it. I'm looking for the cheap and nasty option here, which is buried quite far down. Asymmetry, so is the eye higher or lower? Is he got a thin, so let's make his head a little bit wider. Let's we don't want to make him older, although I'll certainly show you that power. If we wanted to, we could make him more of an animal. We can make him more like a dog type creature. I don't think we want to do that just yet. We want to make a good looking warrior here. Now here's some presets that they've got built in. So notice as I scrub the presets, this is a subtle face change. It kind of gives him more of a rigid jaw. I think we can go with that. That's quite cool. Let's add this one on. That sort of pushes his front teeth forward. I don't like that. What about Jeb? That's a smaller head. No, I think we're okay with the head that we have. Okay, so now we're going to go and we're going to add in some materials. We're going to choose what this what sort of basic skin tone we like, and again it's dependent on what you've purchased, what you've loaded up. So if we go to his face as it stands now, this is a preload, so this is not the final render by any stretch of the imagination, but you can sort of see he's got bushy eyebrows, fairly sort of red lips. If I load up, say, this individual, now suddenly he's got a little bit of stubble, he's got some scarring around the eyes, he's a bit more grizzled. I think that looks a little bit more warrior-like, if you ask me. Maybe we should give him brown eyes rather than blue eyes. I think that might work. And then we can play around with other translucencies and things, and we can add in anatomically correct bits and bobs, if you know what I mean, if you really wanted to do that sort of thing, but we don't in this case. So here we have our skinned barbarian. Now we need to add some clothing. So we're going to go to the wardrobe, and again it depends on what you've purchased. We can range. I mean, you can see I've got science fiction stuff here, I've got barbarian stuff, I've got wizard stuff, I've got just all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So we're going to do a bit of a mixture, I think, in terms of dressing our character here. Let's go to the most barbarian-like materials that we have. We're going to make like a Conan the Barbarian type of thing. So let's give him, let's say a loincloth. So now he has this very skimpy loincloth. The loincloth itself, I'm just going to give it some texture so it's not just pale white. All right, so loincloth, there we go. Then he needs an actual hanging loincloth, so he's not totally indecent in the public, because he is a barbarian after all. This is kind of like a He-Man barbarian. So here it says loincloth barbarian if we wanted to. We can use anything that we like, any loincloth that we have gathered over time. I'm going to add it straight away over and above what he's already wearing. Do we like that loincloth? That looks too animal skinish to me. So I'm going to take that away. Let's go with classic loincloth or heroic loincloth. Let's rather go with a heroic loincloth. Okay, there we go. Nice chainmail. That'll certainly make things look better. Now, of course, what you can also do is you can load up just a whole bunch of different textures and different styles as you want, and as you obviously have cobbled together in your assemblage of your warrior, or at least of your equipment that you've sort of purchased, I suppose. So when it comes to creating your own character, and this is what I particularly like about Daz, is that you can quite literally go to their website and say, right, I want big shoulder pads, and you'll be able to purchase big shoulder pads for like between $2 and $20 is usually where they sit. Sometimes there's some free stuff. There's a club you can join. There's all sorts of wonderful things that you can do. So we've got our scale mail barbarian. I quite like that. Now I'm actually going to use some stuff that came out before this version came out. This is Michael 8, so obviously they've gone through Michaels 1 through 8. I started at Michael 4, which was like 2006, 7, 8, somewhere around there. I want him to have, I've got some stuff for an earlier version of Michael. So I'm going to come down here and load up some more barbaric type stuff, possibly. I've got that here. I want him to have this gladiatorial, it's an accessory. I want him to have this gladiatorial armband thing. So it's a Thracian gladiatorial arm piece. It's asking me for what version of Michael was it. So it was for that version of Michael. Now it's going to auto fit it, which is fantastic. And do barbarians wear greaves? No, I don't get the sense that they wear greaves. What sandals does this come with? Yeah, it's a regular kind of sandal. I don't think he's going to be wearing sandals. He's a barbarian. He's going to wear barbaric kind of stuff, I think. So again, the more stuff you have, and I've obviously put together quite the collection, the more availability you have. I'm going to give them these big boots down here. Again, it's the wrong size, so I'm just going to drop that in place quickly. And now he's wearing these kind of barbaric boots. I quite like those. I quite like those indeed. All right, so we're kind of putting our barbarian together. I'm not too sure if there's much left to do on our barbarian. This arm here seems a bit empty, if you ask me. So let's pop out and see what we can add. I've got something in mind. Again, obviously you become a lot more familiar with the various props and things that you accumulate over time. So we're going to add an armband there, and let's give him this very sort of punch drunk type thing, this puncher thing, which I think is quite nice. Then what about that? There we go, that's pretty cool. And we just need to put some textures on. Sometimes they come pre-textured, sometimes they don't. It really doesn't make that much of a difference. This is the glove, I believe. Nope, not that one. Is it this one? Nope, it's not that one. Let's go to the large cuff. This is small cuff. Where is the large cuff? So I'm doing this in real time so that you can see how long it takes and what the process is. Oh, this is the glove. I actually don't want the glove. I'm going to delete that. I just want the armband. So I believe that it wasn't that one. Was it this one? It was one of these ones. Anyway, we can certainly find that and apply it once we do find it. Or maybe we have I got the right thing? Armband. That's the armband. Large cuff. Right, sometimes it takes a bit of looking. Did I load it up twice? You can also hide things, which I quite like. So in hiding that, I didn't see any change. So I'm going to delete it. And let's hide that. So that one we've definitely got sorted out. So this is the large cuff plate. That's this one. There we go. Now I'm on the right track. And this is the armband. I got confused. That's what happens. Okay, so there's quite a mishmash sort of adventure, I suppose. The cuff of the tusks of this monster, the arm blades of that one. But he needs some hair. I think he needs some hair. So let's give him some hair. Of course, again, you can go and purchase all sorts of different types of hair as you see fit. There is one type of hair which came with another model, an earlier model, which I think is very barbarian-esque. So I'm going to add that on because I think it will make for quite a nice looking barbarian. So we'll do that. And again, it's the customization that you have that I really, really appreciate. And we'll do that. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that looks pretty cool, I think. Does it need hair? I think it needs hair. Let's oh, sorry, computer. I want this hair on him. I want him to look like a rather violent barbarian. Maybe we can make him bigger, I'm not sure. We'll have to load in some more pieces, but we're nearly there, and we've only been going for 14 minutes so far. What we do need to do is make sure that the hair all matches, don't we? So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go to the materials folder, and I'm going to make it, let's just make it, he's a barbarian, let's make him blonde. Why don't we make him blonde? Then we're going to go and do the moustache. Materials. And I think blonde is by default almost what one would expect. This blonde, I think. And the beard needs to be blonde as well. There we go. Okay, so there's Blondie with his blonde hair. Now he definitely needs weapons, doesn't he? So let's give him some weapons. This is definitely a two-weapon fighter. I don't think he's going to be blocking with a shield. I think he's a two-weapon fighter. So I'm going to go and find some props here. What sort of weapons would he wield? I think he's an axeman. So I've got some awesome axes here. Boom, boom, boom. And let's just go with, let's give him an axe in his right hand. So left, right. Left, right. So left hand. Sorry, let's give him an axe in his left hand. Now the axe is floating. So I'm going to just come here, grab the axe quickly and pull it down into place, just like that. It's now attached to his hand, so it doesn't really matter. It's just this initial placement, and that's just because some of these weapons and things are designed for older models, so it was as easy as that. So he's now got an axe in that hand, and maybe in this hand we are going to give him, let's give him a dagger. Seems so small, doesn't it? We don't want him to what about a spear? No, he's got an axe. What does he fight with? An axe, and we've got a spear. I suppose we could give him a pole arm. You can see all the different weapons and different things that I've got available. What if, yeah, we could go with a spear, with a dagger, I suppose. What if he had stolen, let's see here, what have we got? What have we got? We've got a hammer. So what if he stole a hammer from somebody? Is this a very big hammer? I think it is. It's a very big hammer, isn't it? But he's a big barbarian, so I think it's okay. We can drop the axe probably. I actually prefer the idea of this incredibly large mallet, this very large hammer. So I'm going to drop that. Now this white frame around him is basically the framing that we will render out when we are rendering out this final version. Okay, so that is that. I'm going to save him very quickly. Barbarian, however you spell barbarian. Saving is always important. So now that's saved, we're now going to go into posing him. Now this is where it starts to get not difficult, because again it's as simple as we click on Michael and we go to poses and we choose a pose that we think is dramatic. Now bearing in mind, you don't have to use a pose. I can pose him however I wish manually. So I can go in, select his arm, and I can bend this as I like. Now because that hammer is linked to him, it will always follow his hand. So you can go in and you can manually pose these guys as you so choose. There are, of course, predetermined poses which allow you to, with a click of a button, basically just reposition your character straight away into these different kind of poses. And there are thousands of poses, quite literally thousands of poses that you can go through to sort of shape your barbarian as best as you might like. So I think let's go with we'll just choose one here. Let's go with maybe this one. Let's have a look. That's quite barbaric, isn't it? Double club, double-handed swing type of thing. I'm going to just grab this and just lower it down a smidgen. So it's probably about there, I would imagine. And we're going to position this hammer camera anyway. Let's do something like that. And we're going to just position it around here. Bring it around a bit. So you've got to be a little bit of an artistic director as well, a little bit of a film director if you like. You don't have to be, of course. You can choose whatever pose or setting you so choose. So we've kind of got that. I want him to look at us rather than to look off screen. So I'm just going to grab him here and lower his head a little bit. And grab his neck. Which way is his neck looking? That way, and bend it back a bit. So you can really, I mean, you can, like I said, this is really incredibly powerful software that you can go with. That's a bit of an odd pose, isn't it? All right, let's try a different pose. Sometimes you go, that's a great pose, and then you realize, hang on a moment, I can't work with that, or it's not showing off the part of the character that I wanted to, or it's showing off too much of the character, depending on how you want to play it, depending on the pose, of course, as well. So let's have a look and see here. What about, and this is really where things start to slow down, by the way. This is where it really gets to the point where you're like, I've spent how long doing this now? All right, there we go. There's a dramatic pose. Okay, great. So I'm going to come in here. That's a pretty cool pose, I think. This is our barbarian wielding this massive hammer, and he's looking straight at us. Now, we can, of course, come in and we can tweak to our heart's content. This loincloth, we can come in and we can expand all. We can make it change direction if we really wanted it to. Like the skirt, we can change around as well. We can bend it and twist it and tweak it so that it's not going over his leg. Or through his leg, I should say. All right, so we want him to have a facial expression as well. So let's just choose Michael, come back to his face. We could, again, I can go in and manually do it. I'm not going to because of time's sake, but there's the general idea. So now we've got this pose of this really cool barbarian. You go into your render settings, and there's tutorials on how to do this all over the place. But you set up your render values, and then you hit the render button. And unless you've got a nice big computer, and even if you do have a nice big computer, what's going to happen is the machine is now going to start compiling this actual final image together. And depending on how much you have in terms of objects and items within the whole process, it could take an incredibly long time to work through and to finalize. Okay, so the image finished rendering and I saved it. I've got it here. That's what it looks like. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to zoom in here. And the detailing is quite remarkable. Now, there are a couple issues here and there that I didn't fix up, which we can go in and change in DAZ if we really wanted to. But in general, I'm very happy with that look. Now, this is not done. We need a background and we need to tweak this. A lot of people say that with DAZ, there's this bizarre, is it real, is it a photograph or isn't it? Some parts look like it, other parts don't. So there's this bizarre disconnect. So we're going to treat that. But before we do that, we need a background. So for backgrounds, I always like to pop along to here, PX here, copyright free images, and there are millions of them. There are quite literally millions of them. So the way that it works is you've got to choose something. So let's put our barbarian in the Highlands of Scotland. So now what we've got to do is we've got to look for a picture which is A, dramatic, B, doesn't include other people, and C, represents the character in some kind of way. So we're looking for, in this case, something that this barbarian might be standing in front of. This is an option. Let's have a look at that. I'm just busy looking here. And this is the part that sometimes can take the absolute longest. It really can take a long time, depending on how specific you want to get. Now, you can type in castles. Look at this one. It's spectacular, but the water is in the front. So he's going to be standing on that water. I don't think that's going to make much sense. There's, again, water. Here's another one of these standing stones, but I don't think so. Is he in the marsh? It's a bit grey. It's a bit grim. Let's see what came up here. This one's all right, but the sky is a little bit dull, and I don't want to do too much work on it. What I do like is it brings up other options for you to have a look at that are linked in terms of search words, keywords, that kind of thing. None of these are blowing my hair back. That's kind of interesting. Kind of looks like dinosaur bones, I suppose, or dragon bones. They're very Roman. So no to that one. This one, though, I do kind of like. He could be standing here with that in the background. So I'm going to download that. It's free to download. You create an account. The account's free. They didn't sponsor any part of this video, I assure you. But they give you nice high-resolution videos. So I've now downloaded that, and I'm going to open that up. And here it is there. So what I'm going to do now, and I always do this, it's just force of habit, but it's really high resolution, so you don't need to worry about it. But I always go new, I then go to A3, I make sure it's on A3, I create the image. Now I bring in my background, Control A to select the whole thing, Control C, this is on a PC machine, and I select that, Control V to paste it. Right, so it's really small at the moment. All I'm going to do is drag it open, and you want your image to be as big as possible to begin with. So you want the highest possible resolution, but this is just for character art. So you don't, I mean, it's not publishing. You don't have to go that far. All right, so there we've got that. We're going to grab our barbarian, Control A, Control C. DAZ automatically exports it with a background. So there we go. So now we've got our barbarian sitting on the background. Does it look okay? No, it doesn't, not by a long shot. So far, we haven't used any artistic skill, for lack of a better word. We really haven't. We haven't pushed it very far. We haven't really had to flex our artistic muscles very much. Posing, yes. Choosing the costuming, yes. Those kinds of things we have done, but everything else we haven't. So, first of all, what's our biggest problem? Our biggest problem is our shadows. They're running in the wrong direction. If I hide the barbarian, the shadows are going from the base of the object to the right, left, right, to the right. If I bring him back, his shadows are going from the right to the left. So that's a disconnect already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip around. I'm not going to flip him around. I'm going to flip our background around. I'm just going to grab these handles, move it around, and make sure that it's at 100% so we're not stretching anything or doing anything weird like that. Okay, great. So now it is, the shadows are now moving in the right direction. What's next? Well, next is the amount of illumination. If you look at the white on these stones, it's quite bright. It's quite white, if I could put it that way. The clouds are quite white. His white areas there aren't any really white areas very much. So what we've got to do is we're just going to go in, we're going to go to image, we're going to adjust the levels. And if you look here, this is telling us that at the very base, at the very blackest part of the picture, we've got a lot of information. And yes, that makes sense. The hammer is black, the handle's black, the boots are black, everything is black. There's lots of black. The midtones are lacking and there's almost no brightness. So I'm going to bring this brightness all the way up. Look what it's doing to the picture in the background. I can burn it out completely. That would be stupid, but I could. So I'm going to push it up to about there so that highlights on him, his arm, for example, his temple, the hammer, is sitting at about white. So if I do that, and then I bring this back, it's starting to get a little bit better. I might have gone too far, but I don't think I did. Now the next thing is this picture is very green and very blue. He is very yellow. If I were to say a general tone, he's very yellow. So we're going to adjust his color. We're going to go image, adjust, and we're going to go photo filter. That's making him yellower. We want him to be more greenish because that's what the general feeling is. Now that's too green. He's gone too far. So let's tone it down a little bit. Let's make it a bit of a darker green. There we go. That looks a little bit better. We can preserve the luminosity if we want to. I think it's better without it. And we can push it a little bit more so that he feels a little bit more like he is standing in that space. rather than not. And we can always just test it. You just test, you go, brighter, is brighter better? I'm looking at the picture that you're seeing rather than one on my monitor. Is brighter better or is darker? I think darker is better. No, brighter. This is where it gets artistic and it's entirely up to you. Okay, great. So now we've got this image. I'm just going to lower it all the way down there. Thank you very much. And we say, are we done? No, we're still not done, because the entire idea is to create an illustration of your character rather than to create something like this. Now, this could certainly work if this was something that you like the style and you like the feel of it. It doesn't necessarily work for me. I don't particularly like it as it currently is. So I want to take it to the next level. I want to make it more like an artistic illustration. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this whole thing, I'm going to save it as a PDF. So let's see where it saves it as. Okay, so this is the Barbarian base. Okay, and my spelling is all over the place for Barbarian. I don't know why I chose Barbarian. I should have chosen someone like something that's easy to spell. So I'm going to now I'm going to create a JPEG. So I'm creating a JPEG of the entire figure, as high a resolution as I possibly can. Okay, so I close that down. I now open up the JPEG that we've made. So there's the JPEG. And this is the trick. I'm going to duplicate it, Control J. Did you see what it did down there? Control J, I'm going to do it again. So you've got your background selected, Control J. Automatically makes a duplicate of the layer underneath it. I delete the background, and then I right click on the layer and I say Convert to Smart Object. This is important. You convert it to a smart object. Why do we convert it to a smart object? What a smart object does is it allows us to apply a filter. So let's say we are going to go to Filter Gallery, and this will open up the image of the Barbarian. It just takes a little while because it's already automatically applying whatever filter was on there. I'm going to zoom out and you can see that it's applied the cutout filter or the pencil filter as it's busy crunching through this very large image, by the way, as it's busy crunching through that, applying these filters. Now, let us apply the cutout filter. Sorry, computer, please do that again. I'm actually just going to say, okay, so it's going to apply that cutout filter. So already it now looks a little bit like an illustration, doesn't it? It's locked out that photo-esque feel and it's merged them together. So it does feel a little bit better like he's actually in that space. But if you look at the way that smart filters work, we now have this smart filter underneath. So I can turn it off, see the original, turn it back on again and see the adjustment. What I can also do is I can determine how that smart filter is interpreted over the original image, if my computer doesn't freeze. So at the moment it's set to normal, but I can change this to like multiply or let's say lighten. So it's starting to allow some of the original through, but as well as applying that filter effect. So by playing around with these filters, by adjusting them, by trying out different combinations. Let's try overlay, for example. Overlay makes it quite crunchy. Whatever we want to do here, we can really start to manipulate this image. Now, I'm not going to take you through every single step, every single process that you need to go through, because delete or remove. The reason why is there is a fantastic tutorial that I will link in the video below for you to go and look at. He really takes you through the whole process and it makes a lot more sense than the way that I would do it. So what I do, and I have done, and I admit this, is I have, as you can see, done lots of these. I have created an image, this particular image. This is from Daz, gone through exactly the same process that we have gone through before. Now here, oh, not this image. Well, this is the image, but not the PDF. I need to open up the PDF in order for you to be able to see it. So the PDF, as you can see, it's crunching its numbers because it's applying that filter. Here's this filter stack. So we've got Find Edge, Smart Blurs, Filter Gallery 1 and 2. We've got a lot of effects happening here. This is a Daz image done exactly how I've done it before. So I'm going to drag that over there. I'm going to take the smart filters. Now they don't highlight. This was something that took me a long time. I'm going to take the smart filters and I'm going to drag them onto our Barbarian. And it's now applying a lot of filters. I clicked by mistake, so sorry, computer. We now wait for it to apply those filters. The bigger your machine, the faster this will go, obviously. I have a fairly robust machine, but you never can have enough. All right, so that's what it's done. The hammer's done this really weird turn blue thing, which of course it has, because this is a demo tutorial that I'm giving you, and it's naturally going to do something like that for reasons known only to it. I can go in and I can tweak each and every single one of these. I really can. So let me just double click on one and you can see what's happening here. All right, so it's applying the effect. So the hammer didn't go blue here. So this is the dry brush effect. Okay, so it wasn't there that the hammer went blue. Was it here that the hammer went blue? And this is just an overlay effect. So you can go in and you can check and tweak and adjust as you need to. This is cut out. Where is the hammer? It's still applying it. Oh, so here is where the hammer went blue. So it's sort of added it there somehow. So I'm going to have to try and play around with this, see if I can adjust these and get the hammer to come back. Otherwise, what I'm going to have to do is go in and tweak the image to try and separate that hammer from the background, change its color and that sort of thing, or apply the effect separately. Let's just see what we can do here. No, it's not having any of it. It really doesn't like this hammer. It does not like the hammer. So there we go. Got the hammer back. Fantastic. Let's see if we can push this to 7. So this is the art of photoshopping, by the way, is you tweak and you adjust and you tweak and you adjust. I actually think 6 look better than 7, to be perfectly honest with you. And you apply, and now the hammer's back. Okay. Oh, no. Well, here it comes. Maybe I've spoken too soon. I hope not. Nope, there it is. Okay, so the hammer is back. So now if we go into the image, and we go into the actual image, this is now at 100%. So it's quite an interesting effect that's been applied, wouldn't you say? I certainly think so. It doesn't look like that original photograph, but it still doesn't look finished, does it? I don't think it looks finished. So now what we do is now we apply this to it. So I've gone back to that original battle. This is an overlay. This is a multiply of a sheet of parchment. If I were to turn it normal, let's just do that first. So I've just rearranged it. If I were to make this a normal layer, you would see that it's just a piece of parchment. You download it or you can make it yourself. And then you apply it to the whole effect. We are not yet done. This still does not look like this. It doesn't look like that. Well, obviously it's a different picture, but it doesn't look like that for another reason. What we now do, and this is the tricky part, the rest of it was just following the tutorials, which is not difficult. This part is where we now go down to here. We apply a layer mask. Let me get out the way. Down here. Apply a layer mask. You see, all the way down there at under my elbow. We apply that, and that gives you this white layer mask to your whole image. Again, it's not done. We now go Control I. Did it break it? No, it didn't. It turned this layer mask black. It turned it black, making it solid. Well, invertedly solid. It's the way that the layer mask works. Anything that's white is revealed. Anything that's black is not revealed. So it's not revealed. Anything that's white, that is revealed. So now what you do is you now take a paintbrush. You take a paint tool. Now what I've found is you can go and you can get any paintbrush you like. But what I've found is that this range of watercolor paintbrushes works really well for fantasy illustration. I'm going to grab a paintbrush here. All right, it's fairly large, but then again, so is the canvas, so that's okay. Oh, that's too large. It's fairly big. Let's get it to about there. No, let's go 800. Okay. Watch what happens. And my opacity, by the way, is set to 47%. 47%. So now I'm going to start to just lightly, and I'm going to change the brush tool shortly. I'm just going to reveal bits of this illustration, and I'm going to constantly change my brush tool. because this stuttering effect doesn't look very good. So now I'm just passing over, just revealing the bits that I want. Okay, and this is, again, I'm not being artistic. I'm not, you can, when you watch the tutorial that I will link in this video, you can be much more creative. You can really work this space. Where is his hand gone? I don't know where his hand is. You can really work it to the nth degree in terms of being artistic. I'm just scrubbing over. You can hear my clicks, I hope. I'm just revealing stuff hidden in the background. And let's bring out his hammer. So that's really cool. And we probably paint that in. So I'm kind of working, going, well, if I was doing this as a painting, I would never do it as a painting. I don't have that kind of skill. But now look at it. I think that looks pretty damn cool. I think that looks pretty damn cool. And if I really want to get fancy, I can come in and I can choose a brush stroke. Let's go with, say, this one. And I can sort of plop it down here to make it look like it's sort of dabs of paint. Not that you can really see a huge... Oh, wait, where's his hand? There's his hand. Okay, cool. So his hand has sort of been painted in. And there's his foot. There's his knee. Okay, great. Now, when I look at that, I go, that's not too bad. I could live with that. I could live with that. And this is something that basically you have made from scratch. You have chosen the equipment and the armor based on your budget, because you have to buy it, but also based on your character. So it is unique to you. You can now take this guy, and as he levels up, you can add equipment onto him as you so choose. You can change his hairstyles. You can do whatever you like to this character. You can even get scars that you could apply to the character. You can do whatever you like to this character now, as often as you like. And if you go, well, that pose is kind of cool, I'm going to use that pose for this session. Next session, I want him in a different pose. I want him riding a horse. I want him riding a giant cat. I want him riding a dinosaur. You can go mad. As far as your imagination and your budget can take you, you can go mad. Now, there's one last thing that I want to do to this guy to make it feel more like perhaps an illustration. And because we've got the smart filters, it's going to work really, really, really well. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go image, adjust, and I'm going to go hue and saturation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say colorize. And now I'm going to drag it so that it almost gets to the point where it could be an illustration of some kind. I think that could be something that someone doodled or sketched. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it. You can decide. And with smart filters, you can turn it on, and after a while, when it's finished rendering, you can turn it off again. I'm not going to let it finish because you know what it looks like in color, but what I want to do is go in close, and I want to show you, all right, so it did finish. I want to show you now how this image looks very, very close up. Now, when you print this out, this is only at 50%. This is at 100%. So when you print this out on A4, this is going to look absolutely spectacular. Now, you see here his hand. There's an error with his hand. We should have closed his hand off. But I was rushing through it. Let's come out again. Let's come out again. Okay, and let's apply that hue filter again, and it'll chug through as it sort of washes out the color. So you can play around. You can go, okay, I want more of this. I want more of that. I want it to be sharper. I want it to be... However, it's entirely up to you. You can push it in whatever direction you like, and you can really, really play it to create these illustrations of your characters. Now, total production time on this is 20 minutes on this component, and what was it, 14 minutes on the other? So in half an hour, let's say an hour, your first one will probably take you 2 or 3 hours as you get used to the process. But once you're done with that, well, then you just start to to generate characters as you want, as you like. You don't have to just do one. You can do masses of them. You can start to generate images very, very, very quickly. I like to be obviously more specific with the images that I make, so I generally will take longer. I usually take about 3 hours per image that I do, because I'm really looking at how to get the most out of the image, how to make it feel the way that I want it to feel. So my DAZ time I spend a lot more time on. I'm just looking at different effects here, whilst I'm sort of, no, that's horrid. That is a better one. I'm just trying to see if there's a way of making it look more like an illustration or not, depending. So yeah, it takes me about 3 hours, but then again, I might go too far on that. I might spend too much time busy working through the different nuances and things, or it's a complicated scene, and that certainly can take time to achieve. If it is a difficult scene, or a scene that's got lots of characters in it. Anyway, I'm just making a mess now. There's Pantone if you really want to make it feel like that sort of thing. Torn edges is kind of cool sometimes. Make it look like it's out of chrome if you really want to do it that way. But yeah, you can go absolutely mad. And that is how you basically use a combination of a photograph with DAZ 3D to generate your very own character art, and can do whatever you like with it. I hope this has been helpful or instructional, or has inspired you. Like I said, that link below on how to get those various filter stacks so that they work for you. You play around with these. You can make these exactly or as loosely as you like, and you can change it up for each one as well. I think this is a very, very workable solution for you as an alternative to having commissioned art. Of course, with commissioned art, you know that it's one of a kind. It's completely unique. With DAZ, yes, there are other artists out there. They'll use the same models, but as you can see, you can change every setting, every dial to make characters, I think, pretty unique. Of course, there is a cost to it, but that's life, isn't it? Anyway, until next time, happy creating artwork.